I'm going to take a nice positive. I'm going to have a positive take here on your Knicks for a second. Just
Why?
for 1 second.
Why?
Because there's a lot of crap to get to, and that's Major League Baseball. That is this mandate stuff with what's going on here in New York City, the Nets thing, and Kyrie Irving. We'll get to that in a second.
Can I just say one thing about the Knicks? They don't have a big man.
I understand.
And they don't have a point guard.
I understand.
And it's kind of been like this way for 20 years.
But I would like to just for a moment, and I know I'm not the Knicks fan in the room, I get it, but they're at least we're in 2 losses to the Heat and the Sixers over the weekend, both games of which I watched almost all of. I saw things that at least if you're a Knicks fan, while they have major issues, and they start at the top, and we know that with Leon Rose and your guy, Worldwide West, and all that, and all the moves that were made in the offseason that have not worked. Well, you know what I mean, a Knicks fans, front office. Here's what I saw this weekend that if you want some promise and hope you would take from it is that R.J. Barrett has gotten better and better. And he has from the day he's been drafted, R.J. Barrett has become a better player. And he's got the desire and the will, and he went for the 46 on Friday. Now, I get it. They lost to the Heat. I understand all that. But what I've seen out of R.J. Barrett since he's come back from the injury is a different, more aggressive player, and one that I really do believe can become a superstar in this league. Number 2, watching yesterday, and the whole James Harden thing makes me sick, but that's besides the point.
Sick.
And the whole and here's
now
thing.
you're finally coming around to me.
Well, for sure. Here's the other thing too.
Yeah.
Is you can't in this day and age of our attention spans are so atrocious. You have any idea? And I'm assuming you didn't watch this crap yesterday. You have any idea how many free throws were shot in this game yesterday between the Knicks and the Sixers?
I want to say like 46.
77.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
77 free throws. Joel Embiid went to the line 27 times. The game took 3 hours, and it was atrocious. And here's the other part, too, if you're the NBA. You can't have guys like Mitchell Robinson and Jericho Sims foul out in 17 and 18 minutes, respectively. You've got to let them play a little bit more.
But like I told you, this is a problem with the Knicks. That position is a huge problem with the Knicks.
But in this case, I don't blame that. You've got a guy in Joel Embiid who is a mountain of a man. He is the one initiating contact on every play. He gets the ball, shoulder down.
Yes.
You have to change the rules. You got to let the guys play defense and be a little bit physical on him if he's initiating the contact. For him to go to the line yesterday 27 times is a disgrace.
But do you know who else does that and unfortunately gets the calls against him is Julius Randle. Julius Randle does the same thing. He gets the balls. Now, he's not nearly as big as Joel Embiid.
It's a bad brand of basketball.
No, I know it is. It's terrible.
You can't watch it.
Here's the other thing, too. The Knicks, there are about 7 Joel Embiids in the league, maybe 8. If I really think about it, you have Anthony Davis, you have Embiid, you have Giannis. I would say that, Kevin Durant, because he's 7 foot, is like that, but he plays differently. Jokic, yes. So I'm telling you, there's about 8 or 9 of these guys in the league. And the Knicks don't have one, and we've never had one. The last guy we had that was even remotely close to anything like this was Patrick Ewing. We just don't have a guy like that.
I understand.
And then, of course, when James Harden decides to play and decides to really give effort and decides to be the James Harden he's supposed to be, then all of a sudden you see exactly what the Knicks also don't have. And that is a guy who can control the game by holding on to the ball and not throwing it away and not throwing it into the first row of the stands. And this is why, the Knicks are always going to be stuck in neutral. Now, I will agree with you regarding R.J. Barrett. I think we all love R.J. Barrett. We all think that he's a terrific guy, but, he's also a player that's a wing player. We don't have a point player, and we don't have a big man.
He's a slasher. I mean, and he's exciting to watch.
Love him to death, man. And I think he's only going to get better. Believe it or not, he's only going to get better. His shooting will get better. And, it's great when you see a young player really start to mature. And, when you listen to him after games, he's great. He's absolutely great. He is not affected by any of the other nonsense that's going on around him. And, this is why I think you got to get rid of Julius Randle this offseason now, and you got to let this team be R.J. Barrett's team. And you got to, look, I want to see the young kids play. I really do. And I know with that.
That was my second part.
And then with that, they're going to lose. I also know that now.
But I'll tell you this, though. Yes, they'll probably lose more than they're going to win for sure.
Well, they're 1-9 in their last 10.
But watch it. Yeah, but you know what? The score to me yesterday was not indicative of this game.
Well, because it was like, what, 95-95 there.
Well, they had a lead late. I mean, this game, and then all of a sudden, Philadelphia, the last 2 minutes was a complete mishmash of crap and turnovers. But they hung with Philly the entire game. And the Garden, while, there were a ton of Sixer fans there, The Knicks fan was also loud and into it. And you know why they were loud and into it? Because you saw R.J. Barrett, you saw Obi Toppin, you saw Emmanuel Quickly, you saw Cam Reddish, you saw all these young guys.
The kids.
And I at least see, again, maybe I'm blind, that's fine, but I see a little bit of a baseline of what they can be. Now, they need pieces and they need a star. I'm not saying they don't, but at least you have something here that you can work with going forward. The question is Tibbs the coach that can take this group to the next level? And I don't know that he can.
If you get rid of the older players, you can.
How do you get rid of Julius Randle?
I don't know. You just got. That's up to Leon Rose. Is he still around?
He is. Yeah, he doesn't speak, but he is still around. Well,
that's up to Leon Rose to figure out in the offseason now because we're past the trade deadline and all this other stuff. And they'll have to get rid of Fournier too. And they'll, Kemba Walker, he's got 1 year left in his deal. It's probably easy to trade that. But, they just got to hand it over to the young guys and you hope that each of these young guys grow, much like R.J. Barrett has grown right in front of our faces. And, and given all that we talked about, 3 years ago when it was Zion Williamson, Ja Morant's a great player.
Great player.
And he is going to be an awesome, awesome point guard for years and years and years to come. I would much rather have that than have R.J. because of the position and the importance of the position. But we got R.J., and it's turned out that he's probably – right there at the top of that draft class with his explosiveness, with the way that he slashes, the shooting ability, the way to get to the free throw line. There's a lot of things to like about him. Plus, he really does try to play defense.
And he cares.
It's almost impossible to play defense on James Harden, but especially a motivated James Harden. And this brings me back to the problem that I have with the Nets throughout all of this.
Okay.
Is that, he is a reflection of all the crap that the Nets have been through for 3 years. And when you think about the way he was when he first got here was what we see yesterday.
And this is where anytime he goes somewhere for the first time, this is what he is.
Right. Great player. And then he mailed it in.
Yeah.
Then he mailed it in. And I'll tell you who sensed that, and he hasn't said it and probably will never say it. Maybe when it's all over, said and done with, and they're on some podcast and they're drinking and smoking, maybe they'll be able to say whatever they want to say. But, Kevin Durant probably looked at this and said, man, this guy.
Well, I think you saw that for that All-Star game draft. He didn't want him.
Right.
And the way he actually reacted with that was kind of like, see ya, get out. And it'll be fascinating. I think it's March 10th. They're in Philadelphia if Durant is back. I think he will be by then because I feel like it's like we're on a wait and see. There was a possibility he could have played Saturday. They had a great game Saturday night against Milwaukee without him. But I think he'll be back in time for that. It'll be fun, especially if these two teams mix it up in the postseason, which they could. It certainly could happen. But yeah, that was.
And by the way, there is good news on the front for you because March 7th, this mandate is going to get knocked down, and it looks like Kyrie Irving is going to be able to play.
No, actually, he's not.
Really?
No. So I want to get into that because I am beyond confused. There's a private mandate that will still not allow him to play.
Private mandate?
Yes. So the story.
Who put the
all right, so let's do this real quick. And I know we got CeeLo coming up.
Yes.
So it comes out yesterday that given the low numbers and the direction things are trending in, that the mandate will be rolled back.
For indoor
March
dining,
7th.
fitness. Well, fitness isn't basketball fitness.
Here's the good news, Boomer.
Right.
On March 7th, Kyrie Irving will be allowed to go to Barclays Center and watch the Nets play.
He'll be able to watch them play, but he can't
Still not allowed to play, though.
And why is he not allowed to play? What's the reason for it?
I don't know. I wrote it down. I don't know what the hell I'm reading. There's a private sector mandate that's not covered by this proclamation that would still prohibit him from playing at Barclays Center.
Again, the geniuses that are running the city are basically making rules for some people, not other people.
So now he'll be able to actually go to Barclays Center and watch unvaccinated players from other cities come in and play on his home floor. He can watch. And he can be around other people, and everything's fine, but he can't play. But he can practice with them, but he can't play. It makes no sense.
And who else falls into this category? Have you thought of anybody else who falls into this category?
Whoever's not vaccinated in New York. I don't know. No, I haven't thought about it, to be quite honest. He's the face of it.
So he can now go to a restaurant.
Yes.
They're removing the mask mandate this week.
Right. No mask. He can go.
He can still practice with his team.
Yes, correct.
He could travel with his team.
He can go to the Garden and watch a concert if he wants.
He can go to but he just can't play basketball.
He's not allowed.
All right. So again, I do fall on the side of Kyrie
I know
on
you
all
do.
this.
Yeah.
But what I don't fall on is the idiocy that comes out of City Hall when it comes to making decisions as to who's vaccinated, who's not vaccinated, who can go to work, who can't go to work, mandating this, mandating that, and and just being all over the place and being complete, utter S show
Yeah.
when it comes to trying to make everybody understand what we're doing. I mean, like, I was assuming that he was going to be allowed to play.
That's what everybody thought. And then Shams Charania tweeted out this little footnote, if you will.
Now, what about the whole fine thing? Can
So
he
that's
go
all
and
right.
play
So
in
now
fine
this,
too?
now this is what Al and I were talking about on the warm-up show, 5 to 6, Mondays through Friday.
Yeah, okay.
So before we talked about the Nets paying the fine, and then we found out that they cannot pay the fine by NBA rules because they have to follow the city mandates. This is a private sector mandate now, not a city mandate. My guess is they could pay the fines now. And if that's the case, one article actually totaled it up. It would cost the Nets for I think they've got 13 or 12 or 13 home games left.
Plus the playoffs.
And then if you max out the playoffs, every possible playoff game they could play, it would cost either him or the team or whoever pays for it $158,000.
Yeah.
Pay the fine.
Well, what I just wanted, what I really want to know is like, well, how do you pick and choose the people
I don't know.
that you mandate? I mean, I don't
Not in those
understand any of
meetings.
this.
I don't know. I really don't. And why all of a sudden you can be a part of it but not be in it? Like, how does that make sense? It really doesn't.
So he can go to the game, but he just can't play. Can he sit on the bench?
See, one article said that he could sit on the bench. Another said he could sit in the stands.
Right behind the bench.
Right behind the bench. It's so stupid. And he can practice with them.
Yeah, I know. I know that.
So if he's allowed to practice with them,
Can he practice?
why can't he play with them?
Can he practice with them in the Barclays Center?
Well, their facility, I believe, is attached to Barclays Center.
But I'm saying, but
On the Barclays Center floor?
on the Barclays Center floor, can he go out there
I
pregame
think
and shoot and shoot around?
That's a good question
this is
because
why
not for
this
nothing.
is so
Let me ask you
stupid.
this: isn't practice part of his job?
Yes.
So why is the game just not another part of his job?
I don't know, man. I have
And
no
can't
idea.
you sue
I don't know.
someone?
I have no idea what. Well, the previous mayor was a buffoon.
Right.
This guy seems to have a little bit of better sense and a more practical sense of what's going on around here. But I just don't understand between him and city council and the doctors and everybody else how you could just be so selective in what you're doing and not explain as to why it's this way.
Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the red bell so you're notified when we have new content.